Hi, I'm Ashy, and today we're getting toward the end of summer, and so I wanted to do a fill up my sketchbook page with a summer icon, and we're going to do flip-flops today. So I did grab one of my daughter's flip-flops, pardon the fact that it's dirty, but obviously she wears this, and I really just like the iconic shape of a flip-flop. So we're just going to fill our page with this. So let's flow right into it. Popping back on to say that the overhead camera glitched and so the file was corrupted. So I was really happy that I still had the side view for this one because I really like this page and I didn't really want to redo it. So thank you so much for understanding and I hope you enjoy this one anyway. So for this one, I'm going to start by doing some sketches. This is going to be line and wash, and I'm going to start with this brown Pigma Micron pen. So this is waterproof, and so we can paint right over it. And then I'm just going to take my flip-flop and draw some basic flip-flop shapes. So we're going to try to do a bunch of different angles. Some of them are going to go off the page and just have a nice variety of shapes here. So let's just get right into it. Don't overthink it. If they're not perfect, it doesn't matter. So that's the key, is this is just a fun sketchbook page. And so I'm just going to start by drawing in some basic shapes. And so some places we're going to have some folds in our where the curves are. We need to distinguish that, and it's just a little bit easier to do in line than in paint. With paint, you got to focus on shadows with that, which is doable, but I just was feeling line and wash today, so that's what we're doing. Okay. So get the little, where the little, I don't know what you call that thing, toe part goes down. Okay, so there's our little straps. There's the little toe part, and then we're just going to draw in the base of the shoe. Okay, so trying to curve the top. It's going to be pointy where the big toe would be, and then come down a little bit at an angle, and then curve in to where the straps meet it, and then this one's going to go right off the page there. Okay, and then the other side we're going to curve off the page as well. My neighbor is doing yard work, so if you can hear the weed whacker or edger or whatever that is why. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it, but I can hear it. It's kind of annoying, but that's what happens when you have neighbors and you're trying to film. It is what it is. Okay, so I'm just adding where I can see just a little bit of the base of the shoe on the back part. And there's our first shape, okay? So I'm gonna do another one down here, and I'm gonna do it from like this angle, okay? So for me, so I'm gonna turn it right now, but this is kind of the angle that I'm gonna try to get, okay? And so I'm gonna start by doing a curved line for the bottom, okay, and then you can kind of see the side here, and it kind of curves up and then curves down. So I'm just drawing in the side, and it just basically parallels that line, okay, and then here is where the strap's gonna come up. And basically, I mean, you can do like the thin plasticky straps, you can do whatever shape you want for the straps. They don't have to be this like ribbony style, but I kind of like that ribbony style. It's fun because I'm getting like nice loose shapes. And so I'm gonna kind of stick with that for the whole project, for the whole page. Just because it's a funner shape to draw for me. It's nice and loose, so I like that. Okay, so I got the little toe part in, and then we're just gonna curve that around. And it doesn't have to be precise, because again, it's like ribbon, so it moves, it's got flow to it. so it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so there's the front strap. And then we're going to see just a little bit of the one in back. Okay, and then maybe we see just a little bit of the top here. It's kind of curving in. It's an interesting perspective there. Okay. It looks like it's kind of twisted, but that is kind of what it looks like. So we're gonna go with it. Just draw what you see. If you don't have an actual sandal in front of you, I mean, if you don't have a sandal, I don't know. I thought everybody had sandals. Maybe that's just because I'm originally from California. Everybody has flip-flops. But if you don't, then just Google an image and you can use that, because you don't have to have the actual thing in front of you. All right, there's that one. That one's a little funkier, and that's okay. I like it. Okay, so again, now I'm just gonna keep filling the page with more of these shapes. And you can kind of make them up too. They don't all have to be exactly what you're seeing. So like this is obviously a right shoe. So if I wanted to do a left, I would just have the point for the big toe be on the opposite side, curve it in toward the arch, and then do another kind of longer curve on the outside, and then a rounded kind of bulbous shape at the end also. Okay, and then we're gonna put the toe thing more toward the big toe side, because they aren't centered usually. Okay. And then I'm just gonna get my ribbon, and this one I'm just making up. I'm not even looking at the sandal at this point, because I have a good idea of what these look like. So you can then play with the form a little bit more and just be even looser with it. Okay. And then when we paint them, they're gonna really pop. So if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter. Okay. So we're just gonna keep going and keep filling the page, different angles, different directions. The yard work just got louder. I hope I can edit out the sound a little bit, but if not, again, my apologies. And again, this is just a sketchbook page. It's not serious. It's just to relax and have fun and enjoy the drawing process. If you learn a little bit about kind of shape and form and drawing from imagination, drawing from life, then that's great. If you just relax for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or however long this takes me, then that's great too, right? It doesn't have to be serious. It can be very chill. Okay, so this one I'm just gonna add a little bit of the bottom to it. Okay. You can even do some where you see the bottom instead of the top. So maybe I'll do it at like an angle here, and we'll kind of go off the page a little bit. Still gonna see a little bit of the side of it. And then we're still gonna see this strap a little bit. So I'm just gonna add that in. Okay. And then I'll kind of paint in a pattern on the bottom. Okay. Do a couple more where we just have the from top down view. It's gonna go right off the page. Okay. And I'm generally making these all about the same size. You could definitely vary the size more if you wanted to, but I kind of like them all being about the same size. So I'm not doing anything like really consistent in terms of how I'm drawing these. So sometimes I'm starting with the straps, sometimes I'm starting with the sole, but you know, it doesn't matter too much. If you are worried about having lines like here where the sole is kind of showing through that, then you want to start with whatever is on top first. I'm not worried about that. I don't really care if I have that, especially because I'm going to paint after, so it's not like that big of a deal to me. Okay, so now I'm just going in and kind of filling some space. They're all kind of pointed up. Maybe I should have one kind of pointed down. Here. Okay. I definitely recommend adding the depth to the sole because that adds a lot of dimension. If you just do the first outline and don't add the mirroring one for the sole, then it's going to look a lot flatter, even if you add shadow and stuff later. Okay, I think I want to put just the tip of one peeking out here. There we go. I like that. And then let me just add that sole in. Very good. And then maybe the same thing over here, but it's going to be the back half of one. Okay. Perfect. All right, now we're gonna come in and paint them. So I am gonna grab my size, this is a 10 round Degato brush, and we're just gonna start with the base color. So I'm gonna make all of my soles this like a tan color basically, but definitely, you know, if you're doing different style, different shape of straps, different whatever, paint them whatever you want. Flip-flops come in literally every single color. I think Old Navy taught us that in the 90s. I don't know if they still have the iconic Old Navy flip-flop that I gotta say was maybe only great for when you're basically gonna throw away the sandals or like shower flip-flops. They were not comfortable, in my opinion. Some people might have differing opinions on that, but in my opinion, they were not comfortable. But if you're, you know, they come in every single color, so paint your flip-flops whatever color you want. I just want the straps to stand out more than the rest of the flip-flop. That's the only reason I'm doing the base this tan color. And you can loosely paint this, or you can paint it super in the lines and like a tighter style. I'm not worrying about painting in the lines really. I'm just flopping down paint, and sometimes I'm adding more and sometimes I'm adding less, and so it's not necessarily going to dry evenly, and I'm okay with that too. I will say though, this is 100% cotton paper. This is my Bong Academy sketchbook, which is amazing paper, and I highly recommend these sketchbooks. They're relatively affordable, especially when you consider that they're 100% cotton. And I really, really like Bong Academy and professional paper in general. I buy the blocks also. So, you know, I do recommend this paper, whether it's sketchbook form or block form, pad form, whatever. I do have a roll of it. I haven't tried the roll yet though. I have a lot of, or I have quite a few blocks right now, so I haven't busted out the roll. But I am looking forward to trying that at some point. Okay, so there is kind of the base of our flip-flops. I do want that to dry because I don't want my straps to bleed into that. So you can let it dry naturally, or if you have a heat tool, you can definitely use the heat tool. I mean, if you're sketching this on the go, you know, you're gonna let it dry naturally. But again, it's summer, so hopefully it'll dry quickly because it is summer and it is hot out. All right, I'm gonna dry this. All right, so for the straps, I'm going to use the same brush. I think I'm going to use the same brush for everything. And I really like these tie-dye straps, so I'm going to try to get something along that lines. And I'm going to try a few different approaches. So let's do one wet on wet. So I'm just going to put some water down on the straps. Make sure it's not too much water because we want the paint to move, but not be completely out of control. Okay, and then I'm just gonna kind of tap that in kind of arch shapes, and then go to my purple and do the same thing, leaving just a little bit of white space in between. Get some blue, and I'm just kind of choosing at random. I think it was Permanent Rose, then Winsor Violet. I have my Winsor Newton paints, and this is Cerulean. Okay, and then we're gonna go to a green. This is Hooker's Green. Get some green up here. It's starting to dry already because again, it is hot, but also I just heated the page, so it dries a little bit faster if you use the heat tool and then paint right on it because the page is hot. So just an interesting thing to think about if you're going to use a heat tool. Okay, and then we need our orange. Oh, that was Lemon Yellow Deep, I think, and then this is maybe Cadmium something, Cadmium Red, Cadmium Scarlet, I'm not sure. But it's orange. I don't use a lot of orange, so that just kind of hangs out in my palette and doesn't really get used much. And I have two because one of them is actually a cotton color and one of them is a professional color. One's red, one's orange. I don't remember which is which, but I do have two because I was waiting for one of them to run out and I just haven't used it at all. Okay. So I kind of like that. So that was, you know, more wet on wet. This is more wet on dry because it dried really fast, but that's okay. I can add in a little bit more define marks if I want. And for the toe strap thing, I'm just going to use some yellow ochre. Okay. Maybe while I have yellow ochre on my brush, I'll do that for all of them. Okay. Now we can try maybe a little bit different pattern. So still rainbow, or still all the colors, but maybe I'm going to do striped instead of this more archy. Okay. So let's see. Start with some blue. And we'll make them symmetrical on this one. A little bit of purple, a lot of purple, some pink. Big explosion of pink. Lift up a little bit. Some orange. Yellow. And green. And I'm just letting those blend in with each other as they move. You know, I'm not waiting for them to dry. Now, if I wanted to do a more defined pattern, then I would wait for them to dry. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to add some blue. Very little water on my brush there. And maybe this one I'm not going to do as many colors. I'm just going to do cool colors for this one. So we're going to do pink. Okay, and because I didn't put very much water there, even though they're touching, they're not really going to blend. Okay, and then we're going to do some purple. This purple is really intense, so I'm going to add a lot of water and then take water off my brush by just dabbing it on my towel. But for the dark part under here, I'm going to take that super intense purple and let it be a shadow color. And then maybe here there's a little bit of a shadow also, where there's like a fold. I don't know if that worked, but we'll go with it. Okay, and then since I did a cool one, I'll do a warm one. So we'll do orange, red, or orange, pink, and yellow. And I'm gonna do polka dots. Okay, yellow. And pink. Okay. I don't know, what other patterns are there? Let's do chevrons, maybe? And I'll do green. And I don't know, we'll see, whatever my brush goes into next. The ones underneath are going to be a little bit darker. because again, those are in shadow and you're not seeing the whole thing. There. Okay. Green, and I could do contrasting colors, so I could do pink, or I could do analogous colors and do blue, or I can just throw that to the wind and do whatever I want. I don't know why I'm feeling purple, so we're gonna go purple. And here's the dark ones for underneath. Okay, and then a little bit more water. There we go. All right, and then I'll add shadow to that back one because right now you can't really tell what's going on. But we'll do that later once it's dry. Okay, green and purple, let's do blue squiggles. Okay, and do blue and yellow. All right, we got, what, 4 more. I gotta keep coming up with patterns. I think I'm just gonna do another tie-dye one over here. Okay. Now my brush better. Oh, my cerulean is not activated. I guess I just didn't swirl it enough. That's okay. Okay. Green. Yellow. Orange. And pink. Okay. I kind of like the polka dot one. I think I want to do different colors of polka dots. Let's do green, blue. I'm going to use a different blue. This is cobalt. And yellow. Okay. And then we'll do this one polka dot as well. Oop, a little chunk of paint there. Okay. Blue, purple, and pink for this one. one left. I can do another like stripey one. Okay. Now I'm going to go back in and add shadow. So you can choose to do this with your paints. So if I wanted to add shadow to like this white part, I could add just a touch of some blue, whatever blue you want, or gray. This is mostly a mix of burnt sienna and ultramarine. So if I just take a little bit of that and add it, then that gives it a shadow. Now, you don't want to add a lot of brush strokes or a lot of water because it'll start to bleed. And I mean, it's okay, but it's not necessarily ideal. So if you want to add just maybe like this will be a lot more blue, I can add that in. Okay. Now here I'm just going to do a wash of blue over it to deepen it up some. Same with here. Adding that blue glaze over adds kind of an automatic instant shadow. Okay, but again, if you do it while it's wet or if you use too many brush strokes, it's going to reactivate the paint that's already on the page. And I didn't let this paint dry very long, so it is more likely to reactivate. And I'm just really not that worried about it, so I'm doing it anyway. But if that bothers you, wait for it to dry more. Okay. So that's one option for adding shadows. You can also use different mediums. So I have these are Faber-Castell Pit Artist brush pens, and they come in different colors. And so you can use this to add shadow as well. So I'm going to use this to add shadow underneath my flip-flops. Okay. Now these do layer a bit because they are transparent, they're not opaque. So if you're going over the section a lot, it's gonna get darker, okay? So right there, right along the edge, if I go over it, see how it got darker? So just keep that in mind if you don't want to darken up your shadows. Now obviously this is creating a pretty defined shadow. If you don't want a defined shadow, then don't use these. Use watercolor. Okay, so I can go in and do that. I'm probably not gonna, I'll go back over it with this, but just to show you, right? You can add a little bit of watercolor along the edge, and that's gonna be a lot softer of a look. And you can then add clean water to even diffuse it and get an even softer look. So it's kind of depends on the look you're going for. I started with these, so I think I'm gonna finish with these. They're, again, it's just a stylistic choice. So do whatever you want, but I'm gonna go in with these and have that more defined shadow. And if this is too dark, there are lighter versions as well. So, you know, you get to decide. I kind of like it. It's very graphic. I don't always like it. I don't do this very often, really, but for this page, I do like it. And your shadows don't have to be a solid line or color either. They can just be broken like this, and that can add a little bit more like lightness to it so it doesn't feel as much like a heavy shadow. So if you want to add some gaps, it's going to feel a little bit less dense and lighter. Okay. Right along the edge of some of these, I'm going to add a little bit more darkness. And now I'm just basically fiddling, okay? So I have different colors, like I said, there's lighter and darker. So I'm gonna go in with a warmer, lighter one. So this is really, really light. I don't even know if it'll show up much, but we'll try it. For some shadow on the shoes themselves. Okay. It's showing up, it's very light. I don't know if it's doing enough. I might go back in and add darker shadows still. Okay, let me grab a darker one. That still seems pretty, but we'll try it. Definitely more gray. Okay, so I'm just using this for kind of where you can see the sides. And then I can go in and add some more grayer shadows. Just adding that over some of the inside. Parts of the ribbon sandals, just to get even a little bit more depth. All right, there we go. I did say I was gonna add a little bit of a pattern on the bottom of this, so I'm just gonna take some more of that color and just kind of do jagged shapes to give it some texture. So kind of generally diamond shapes, but very, very, very loosely. There we go. And that gives it the impression that there is some sort of pattern on the sole. All right, and that's it. So there is our very fun fill a page with flip-flops for the end of summer. So I hope that you get out there and celebrate the end of summer a little bit, and also take your paints and do some flip-flop painting. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a like and took the time to leave a comment. I know that takes time, but it really does help the channel, and we can start some conversations in the comments. I do try to respond to every single one, and so just drop a question in there or something you enjoyed or something you tried. I would love to hear it. Thank you again so much for watching, and until next time, keep those paints flowing.